Hello and welcome to a tutorial on Allan-Bradley PLC connectivity in visual components.
When following any tutorial, check the lesson on the Visual Components Academy, and if the Download Files option appears, you can download the example files.
For this tutorial, we will be using Studio 5000, Logix Designer and FactoryTalk Logix Echo software. Information on where to download any additional software components will be included in the video description. What we have here is a ready-made layout that simply pushes all the cylinders out. We have also connected the conveyor sensor to an LED indicator light, so whenever anything goes through the sensor, the LED light will flash green. In this scenario, every one of these cylinders will get pushed. But we would like to use an Allan-Bradley PLC to count when we have 5 cylinders coming in, and every 5th one should be pushed. The rest should go forward. Let's start by going to the Connectivity tab. Here we have the Allan-Bradley PLC, and we can right-click to add a server. And when the server has been added, we can check for the controller type. We currently support Micro 800, Compact Logix, and Control Logix. Let's first check what controller type we are currently using in Studio 5000. Here we can see the Studio 5000 Logix Designer, which we will refer to as Studio 5000. And we already have some ready-made code in Studio 5000. We can double-click on the Controller My Tutorial directory on the left side of the window to see which type of controller we are using. And we can see here that we are using Control Logix as the controller. We would also need to go online within the system. And in order to go online, we either have to use an emulated PLC or a real PLC. So this Studio 5000 is for configuring the PLC, for example, the ladder diagram or the structured text, and initializing variables in tags. In this case, let's use an emulator, and in order to use an emulator, we need this FactoryTalk Logix Echo. Within the Logix Echo, we have our chassis, and then we have the controller name, Control Logix. In order to add controllers, all we need to do is right-click and select Add Controller. It will then ask which controller do we want to add, and it would be a good idea to select the correct one. But do not worry, even if we select the incorrect one, Studio 5000 will recognize it and it will ask if we would like to change on the fly. When the correct emulator has been set up in Studio 5000, we can go to the top toolbox and select Communications and select the network browser. The network browser will scan your PC for any network connection, including emulated connections. And in this case, we can see that the emulated Ethernet has a 55AT controller that we can connect to. And this is the one that we have generated in the FactoryTalk Logix Echo. And we can click on Go Online. It will most likely ask, do we want to upload or download? Uploading will copy the configuration of the controller to Studio 5000, while downloading will copy the configuration of Studio 5000 to the controller. Here in the top left corner of Studio 5000, we can also see that controller is OK, indicating that Studio 5000 is connected to the controller. And we can also see that the program mode is grayed out, so the structured text will not run. Now, what is unique with this Allan-Bradley connectivity in visual components is that the server over here has an optional file that we can add. This optional file can be generated based on the parameters and local tags or the controller tags. In this case, we have already generated 4 different local variables, namely counter, previous signal, signal, and push. Now we would like to export these tags into a CSV file that can then be read by the Allen-Bradley connector from the Visual Components side. Let's go to Tools in the top corner, and then let's go to Export, and we would like to export our tags and logic comments. Now we can just export it to our desktop and call it mytutorialtags.csv. And when that is done, we can jump briefly to the Visual Components side to start configuring the plugin. We can change the PLC type to Control Logix. And here we have the optional CSV file. Now let's go ahead and get the tags that we just exported from Studio 5000. When that's done, we can go ahead and click Test Connection. And here we can see that the connection has succeeded. And now we should click Apply over here, which will enable the Connect-Disconnect control from the server side. We can click it once. And here the connection does not succeed as Allan-Bradley has not yet updated its session list. We recommend waiting for a while before attempting a connection again to allow the session list to be updated properly. And now we can see that it went through because the Connect-Disconnect icon is green. A feature of the Allan-Bradley Connectivity plugin is this Open PLC Variables Editor. Here we can see that we can directly add certain variables to the Visual Components side. So in the Allan-Bradley PLC case, the parameters and local tags in this example are not exposed. So the software from the Visual Components side will not see them unless we add the variables using the CSV file or by hand. So now, when we open up the programs, we have the counter, previous signal, push, and signal. So let's go ahead and click on Cancel so we do not duplicate the variables. Now that is done, we can go ahead and click on the simulation to server, right-click and select Add Variables. And here we can see that on the right-hand side, we have the server side, and we have access to everything like this. So now what we want to do is to connect the conveyor sensor's sensor Boolean signal to the signal of the server. So this should go from Visual Components to Allan-Bradley PLC. Let's pair them and close this. Next, let's go to Server to Simulation. Right-click and select Add Variables. And we would like to get this push Boolean to the pusher process over here. And it just happens to be that the simplest way to do this is to change the push parts with no product ID, with the push variable over here. Now we compare these as well. And then close the Create Variable Pairs panel. When we now go to Connected Variables, let's expand it a bit. We can see that they are now connected. From the Allan-Bradley PLC side, this system still will not run because it is not set to run mode. So we should go back to the Communications tab, and then instead of having it on Program mode, let's make it go on Run mode. And click Yes. Now this structured text should run. So when we click play to run the simulation, we can see that the sensor signal has turned into false until the system hits the sensor signal itself. And here we can see that both of them flashed. And we can also see that the system is not pushing all the cylinders like it was in the beginning. And this should be the third, and this is the fourth. And then, based on the logic, this fifth one should be pushed. And here we can see that this push parts variable has been turned into true, and now the system will push. then the next one comes in and it will no longer push. And this concludes the lesson. Thank you for watching.